lives are shrouded in mystery, and they've climbed the greasy pole. They want to be famous, they want to be influential, they want to be powerful. Harry and Meghan the other side, smiling at all the rest of it.
That her brand was in great trouble. American Riviera Orchard, that she had allegedly nicked.
And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem. Well, I do think the Sussex overdrive is unbelievable. But I mean, I don't think that he is going to get back in, which showed that he is very commercially minded, which we'll get into later on, which makes it impossible for him. And of course, Meghan wouldn't come back to Britain.
She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire.
Prince Harry will not make Meghan Markle a billionaire. She wants to be a billionaire. So who will? A new man. At some point, if it's offered up, it might happen. That is why she is constantly meeting new billionaires.
And that was very critical, because at that moment last year, she was about to promote her Netflix series and didn't want to, firstly, be seen with Harry, and secondly, didn't want to go somewhere where she'd appear cheap. Harry, being a simple soul, has easily changed to suit Meghan's agenda. They want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. And that ridiculous story about how they first met, the whole thing was a tissue of inaccuracies, to be polite. That she arrived in London, full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course, she'd been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an
So, Meghan Markle's perfectly polished fairy tale didn't just crack, it exploded, like someone lit a fire under the palace curtains. And who was holding the match? None other than Tom Bower, the man who makes billionaires sweat through their silk shirts. He didn't just peek behind Meghan's story, he tore down the entire set. For years, Meghan painted this picture of herself, misunderstood, emotional, fighting invisible royal forces, a woman too brilliant for her cage. The world bought it, all of it. Cameras flashed, people cried, and sympathy poured in like rain on a wedding veil. But Bower looked at her story like a man reading a receipt after paying for a fantasy and said, "Wait a minute, this doesn't add up." That fairy tale wasn't just neatly packaged, it was polished to the point of perfection.
Revenge, you talk about how Meghan's lack of knowledge about British history meant she could not understand that Diana had won the public's affection.
She was warned before she married what the nature of being Harry's wife and part of the royal family would be, and the nature of how she ignored all that advice. For two reasons. One is she really did believe she could do what she wanted. And secondly, I don't believe she ever intended to stay. She always intended to take the title, take the connections and get back to...
Complete with its own imaginary soundtrack. But when Bower entered, it was like a forensic accountant reviewing emotions. He didn't come whispering, he came shouting, the kind of shout that cuts through PR fluff like a knife through velvet. Suddenly, that glossy narrative Meghan used to float on didn't just lose its glow, it collapsed like wet cardboard in the rain. Because when Bower starts digging, you're not dealing with gossip anymore. You're dealing with a man who buries reputations using nothing but interviews, timelines, and truth sharpened like glass. Before Meghan could even adjust the light on her misunderstood Duchess act, Bower announced that the unraveling had begun. Her story, he said, wasn't bending reality, it was rebuilding it from scratch. And then came the shocker, the moment her mask didn't just slip.
Meghan's agenda and Meghan's living with Meghan is very different than living with Kate and William. Meghan has a completely different attitude, and I think California has a different attitude. So I think we're now seeing a different Harry, and to his misfortune, it's not a Harry that appeals to the same sort of people in the same numbers.
It hit the floor so fast, the echoes still bouncing. Bower revealed Meghan hadn't simply shared her truth, she'd done a full renovation on it. He laid it out with the precision of a man assembling IKEA furniture with no music, no patience, and no mercy. Each detail, each contradiction fitted neatly into place, revealing a portrait of a woman less wounded and more calculated. Her brand, Bauer said, wasn't rooted in experience. It was engineered. Every story, every memory, edited like an Instagram reel to fit the wounded phoenix aesthetic. She was the heroine rising from royal cruelty, glowing through the ashes. Except the ashes, Bauer argued, weren't real. They were curated. She wasn't blurring the truth. She was dragging it through Photoshop, reshaping it until it matched the version that sold best. He said she leaned hard into royal injustice, personal pain, emotional scars, and that "no one appreciates me" energy. The kind of over-the-top tragedy even Hollywood would send back for rewrites. But Bauer pointed to something sharper. When the world adored Meghan, it wasn't Meghan they adored, it was the crown shining behind her. The applause wasn't personal, it was positional. But Meghan mistook it for worship.
Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was chaired as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty. I think there was that, but I've got to tell you, my research for my new book, the number of times she was warned before she married what the nature of being Harry's wife and part of the royal family would be, and the nature of how she ignored all that advice, for two reasons. One is she really did believe.
And that's when the cracks started to form, when the performance stopped performing, when sympathy couldn't stretch into another sequel. Bauer said that's when the collapse became inevitable. And his next revelation? That one made everything explode. Because Tom Bauer is not someone you ignore. He's the guy power players avoid like bad press. He spent decades interviewing people who swore they'd stay silent. Royals, politicians, tycoons, the kinds of people who make entire PR teams lose sleep. He digs until truth drips out. And Meghan? She and Harry sue everything that moves. Headlines, jokes, opinions, shadows. Yet somehow they never sued Bauer, not once. Because as Bauer calmly said, "I bring proof, not vibes." He interviews the people they hoped were lost to time, collects documents, builds timelines like a legal case. He doesn't deal in rumors, he deals in receipts. And those receipts, he said, told a story the palace never would. Meghan didn't stumble into fame. She mapped her way to it, step by step, smile by smile. Even her relationship with Harry, Bauer says, wasn't just love. It was a strategy.
To create her own brand and image in the whole Netflix series, of lifestyle series. She was told she had to give up being the Wicked Witch in terms of the royal family. She should put that all behind her and not mention them because people want to see her, not all the time complaining. She couldn't resist because in the end, one of Meghan's many deficiencies is she has
not criminal, not unusual, just incredibly ambitious. But when that ambition met the weight of facts, the cracks turned into craters. And then came his knockout revelation, one that stunned even the palace. According to Bauer, Harry and Meghan bought the Lilibet domain, the Queen's childhood nickname, before even telling her about their daughter's birth. Not a tribute, he said, a brand. Harry swore he'd asked for permission. The palace, which never contradicts, did something unthinkable. They publicly corrected him. Quietly, firmly, officially. It was like Buckingham Palace slamming a door shut mid-conversation. And that's where, Bauer claims, the entire illusion shattered. Because when you start turning the Queen's private name into a marketing label, people start to wonder what else you've rebranded. And according to Bauer, the answer was simple: everything. Meghan hadn't just rewritten royal history, she'd rewritten her own. She told the world she grew up struggling, surviving on emotional leftovers, abandoned, scraping through life with grit. But Bauer's research told a colder story: ballet lessons, private schools, designer clothes, and a father who paid every bill with pride. The man she described as absent was in reality her biggest supporter. He picked her up from school, paid for her car, her auditions, her dreams. And that so-called letter to Procter & Gamble, the childhood act of activism she claimed as her defining moment, Bauer calls it another narrative makeover, not a crusade, but a rewrite. According to him, she didn't erase her father because of pain. She erased him because he didn't fit her script. Her life wasn't a struggle, it was a production, and anyone who didn't match the part was cut from the scene. Then came the Oprah interview, the glossy confessional that shook the world. Meghan sitting under perfect lighting, voice trembling, eyes glassy, the Duchess reborn as a survivor. But Bauer says that wasn't honesty, it was choreography. He said once the facts were checked, the fairy tale crumbled. The secret wedding she claimed happened 3 days before the real one, the Archbishop himself denied it. The story about Archie's skin tone tied to his royal title? Pure manipulation. The rulebook for titles existed long before Meghan even entered the story. It wasn't racism, it was law. Then came her most emotional claim, that she begged for help and was denied. Bauer says palace records show otherwise. Access to doctors, staff, and support were available. What she called neglect, he called narrative. The Oprah interview, Bauer insists, didn't expose royal cruelty, it exposed Meghan's pattern. And then there was the Australia tour, the moment Meghan believed she had conquered the world. Flashbulbs, cheers, glamour. But behind those photos, Bauer found chaos, tantrums, screaming at aides, changing schedules mid-event, and even a tea-throwing incident whispered among staff. To Meghan, the cheers were for her, but in the monarchy, the cheers are for the crown. When she realized she could never outrank Catherine, Bauer says that's when she began her exit plan. And then came the part that left everyone speechless: the Queen's funeral. Cameras caught Harry and Meghan walking beside William and Catherine, united, grieving, peaceful. But Bauer claims that while the world saw mourning, Netflix saw content. The couple had already recorded their documentary, accusing Charles of lying and William of screaming, before the Queen even passed away. Recorded, edited, ready to air. While William believed they were reconciling, the betrayal was already locked in the editing room. It wasn't the first time either. Bauer says Harry pulled the same stunt at Prince Philip's funeral, smiling publicly while preparing another wave of private attacks. That, he says, was the real pattern, the performance of affection while the knife was already halfway drawn. But what truly chills you is how far this went. Bauer revealed that Meghan had been modeling herself after Princess Diana, not emotionally, but visually, strategically. The clothes, the jewelry, the poses, even the tearful glances at cameras, all part of what he calls the Diana simulation. But where Diana had empathy and humility, Meghan had marketing. And then came the freefall. Hollywood turned its back. Studios didn't want royal drama dragging into their boardrooms. Spotify cut ties. Netflix reduced commitments. Archewell's numbers shrank. Polls in the US and UK dropped faster than anyone expected. People didn't turn away out of hate, they turned away out of fatigue. Too many contradictions, too many versions of the same story. Every time the truth surfaced, the narrative shifted again. And that's where Bauer's final blow lands. The collapse, he says, wasn't because of conspiracies or royal cruelty. It was because of repetition. Meghan's pattern: rewriting, rebranding, reframing, always the victim, never the villain.